Hope Not Hate are a radical left-wing propaganda organisation, and they are not happy about the quote-unquote far right's Day for Freedom demo, which is tomorrow. In fact, it's today, given the time that I'm recording this. But I shall be there. I don't know whether I'll be speaking or not. Maybe. I don't really know what I'll say. I'll probably just explain why free speech is important again. I can't believe I have to do this. I mean, you would think this argument would have been won by now. But let's have a quick look at their video to demonstrate exactly what we mean when we say that the far left is just diametrically opposed to freedom of speech. Okay, now that's very interesting, isn't it? Because I honestly don't know whether this is going to be the case or not. As in, it's going to be a day for free speech. Sometimes free speech includes things that you don't like. Some of those things might be hateful, but that doesn't mean they're not free speech. Also, there's a Muslim activist called Ali Dawah going. I don't really know very much about him, but I understand he's well, very much a pro-Muslim activist. So, I mean, does he count? Because, I mean, I think you could make the argument for some of the things that I'm sure that he would advocate for, if he advocates for a sort of literal reading of the Quran and whatnot. But of course, that would be Islamophobic. Okay, don't you find it worrying when you are opposed to the far right on the grounds that they want freedom and you don't want them to have freedom? Isn't that an issue? Do you not think that at some point maybe you may have gone a bit too far and become a little bit Stalinist? I mean, it's not that different from Nazism, really, is it? Oh, that was a Nazi. Oh, there I was. I'm definitely a Nazi. But apparently I don't really believe in freedom of speech. Which is an amazing thing to say, really, given how that's like 90% of my fucking platform, and ideologically everything I say is completely internally consistent with the idea that I do believe in freedom of speech. I guess the problem that they have is that I also believe that hate speech is free speech, even if you don't like it. When they say freedom, they mean the freedom to hate. Yes, that actually is included in the concept of freedom. If I'm not free to hate, then I am not free. I mean, it is a feminist axiom, or even not even a feminist one, it's a Marxist axiom, that you have a right to hate your oppressor. If that's the case, if it's the case that we are now not free to hate, then you are not free to hate the boot upon your neck. It's very Orwellian, isn't it? You must love Big Brother. Well, abuse, again, it's not very pretty, but I should be free to tell someone that they're a twat. And you could say, well, that's abusing someone. So, well, maybe it is. But it doesn't stop that person being a twat. But I do agree that they shouldn't be able to incite. That's the only thing I'm willing to even vaguely compromise on. Although, like I've said before, I'm a free speech absolutist. So even if someone is inciting you to violence, it's still on you to make the decision not to do violence. They can say whatever they want all day, but it's your choice. But like I said, I can compromise on that one. You know. You have the Pakis and you have indigenous Brits. Well, I mean, it's a racist term in Britain, say Pakis, but you're not going to suggest that people from Pakistan are indigenous to Britain, are you? That'd be a weird statement, wouldn't it?
I'm sick of being called a racist. Blacks are collectively less intelligent.
Well, that's an objectively true statement, isn't it? All the IQ testing that has ever been done does suggest that black people have a lower IQ on average than white people. That's just factual. That's not even a controversial thing to say from an academic point of view. I mean, you wouldn't be able to find data that didn't say that, I think.
Feminism is cancer.
Well, that's an objectively true statement as well. Feminism is absolute cancer.
Europeans are being asked to provide welfare, land, and social assistance for fighting-age young men who are flooding into their countries.
Well, that's an objectively true statement as well. And how is that an objectionable statement at all? That's absolutely true. They absolutely are being asked to provide that. And it's being done by a select group of people at the top of the European Union, effectively, and certain other countries. Like, why is that supposed to be controversial? That's true. Anyone who's been following this in any way, shape or form will be able to explain all of that to you.
You have nothing in common with the United Kingdom and our culture if you think that covering your head and covering your face is normal or acceptable.
Well, that's true too. It's definitely against the sort of British values of openness and tolerance to force women to cover their faces. Holy shit! If it was a non-Muslim group that was insisting that women cover up, feminists would go nuts. But because it's the Muslims, no one cares. You're not allowed to say anything because that would be Islamophobic. Notice there isn't a Hindu-phobic or Sikh-phobic terms. Islamophobia, though, definitely.
Throw them out, David Cameron, we've had enough of this.
Throw who out? That's like when you take things out of context. I mean, she might be talking about Nazis. Throw generation identity out. Make sure Martin Sellner can't come here and say, by the way, maybe we should be collectivists or whatever it is he's saying. But she might be talking, and I think it's highly likely that she's talking about jihadis. But since there's no context, I'll never know. But look at this. Isn't this great? Let's make it so the people are now censoring themselves. That's what we want, because it can lead to violence. Yes, but it is also oppression when you prevent this, but it doesn't necessarily lead to violence. So we're going to let people say what they want, and if they commit violence, we have laws in place to punish them and prevent it. This is how a liberal democracy works, I'm afraid, and you're just going to have to get used to it. Because if you don't get used to it, then we don't have a liberal democracy, and we'll end up with some sort of politically correct totalitarian police state, which really none of us want to see, but we are getting so much closer to that by the day. It's genuinely disturbing. Censor yourself, brown man. The white liberal, quote-unquote liberal, the white progressive is making you silence yourself because you're saying things that are really unacceptable. How very dare you. Oh yeah. Oh really? You have a fucking advert campaign against the idea of a day of freedom with people that you have made cover their own mouths up with silver tape so they won't talk. And you're like, yeah, free speech is vital and must be protected though. Yeah, you really seem like you're on the side of free speech. And there we have it. But unfortunately for Hope Not Hate, I don't measure myself by the standards of the far right. I don't even care what their opinion on free speech is. My opinion on free speech is that it does include hate speech, whether you like it or not. We must be free to offend. That's one of the cornerstones of free speech, because generally it is the offence takers who are the ones against free speech. You are the reason, in fact, the very reason that we need free speech and we need to offend you. So I am sorry, I will never compromise on this. Hate speech is free speech. Deal with it, and I'll see you all tomorrow.